Today, I'm going to show you how to recreate this title card from the TV series Invincible using After Effects 3D features with no plugins. I'm DJ from Eternal Visuals. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. To start off, we need to open Adobe Illustrator to create our layers. Create a project, and for the dimensions, we'll choose 1920 by 1080, then hit Create. Grab the text tool and make a text box. Type your desired text. I'll just use your title as a filler. In the character window, increase the size of the text by about 300 pixels. Use the align tools to center your text. Also make sure your text box doesn't have any leftover space so it will properly center. For the Invincible font, you need to download a free font called Shadows of Xizor. I'll leave a link in the description. Now head over to the Effects tab. Go to Warp, then Arc Lower. Adjust the bend to a negative value. -15 should work great. Hit OK. Then go to the Object tab, and with your text selected, hit Expand Appearance. Now we need to grab the Perspective tool. If you don't see this in your toolbar, you can always activate it by going to the Windows tab, selecting Toolbars, then Advanced. Select the Perspective tool and grab the bottom edge and pull outward to give your text a slight angle. We need our text to take up more of the screen for our crack effect, so with your selection tool, hold down Ctrl or Command Shift Option. Now go to File Place to import our Invincible reference photo that we're going to use to pull color information from. With your title selected, grab the eyedropper tool and grab the red font color. Then select the Shape tool and click and drag your first background. Then grab the eyedropper tool to select the black background color. Reselect your text and hit Ctrl or Command Shift V to paste a copy of the text in the same position. Grab your eyedropper again and grab the font color underneath the cracks. Do the same Shift copy and paste for the background and eyedrop the blue background under the cracks. Move these layers to the back by Shift selecting these layers and hitting Ctrl or Command open bracket to send them backwards. Now let's prep these layers for After Effects. Go to your Layers panel and create at least 6 or more layers. Increase your titles to fill a majority of the screen. Then using the pen tool, make your first shape that will create a crack cut. Before dividing the object, go to the Layers panel and hide the under crack font and background so they are not affected. With the shape selected, go to Object, Path, Divide Objects Below. Right-click your title and select Ungroup. Create another shape that overlaps the other crack you made. Once you like the layout of the pieces that will be created, divide the objects below again. Now that you have all the pieces cut and separated, now you need to go and select the title pieces that lay inside the appropriate background pieces by selecting the background pieces first, then shift-clicking all the title pieces that are inside of it. Then hitting Ctrl G on your keyboard to group them together. Once they are all grouped together, you can drag them into their own new layers. I named all of them different pieces, different block titles. Once you group all of your font pieces with their appropriate background layer and made each one a separate layer, make sure to unhide the blue background and title and put them in their own layers as well. Now you can save your Illustrator file locally somewhere and then open up After Effects. Create a new project, then a new composition. Set the frame rate to 2997 and then make the timeline length 10 seconds. Title it Invincible Comp, then hit OK. Go to File, Import File. Navigate to your Illustrator file. Before importing, make sure to select Retain Layer Sizes. Then hit Import. Drag the Illustrator comp into the main composition. Double-click the comp to open up all the layers and shift-select all of your block layers. Enable the Rasterized Layer button. Then right-click and select Create Shapes from Vector Layers. Delete all of your Illustrator duplicates. Then shift-select all of your new layers and make another set of duplicates by copying and pasting. Then move all of your second duplicates under the associated layers. Then select all of your layers and enable the 3D icon, and parent the duplicate to its main layer. In order for all this to work properly, we need to make sure our composition is set for the correct 3D settings. Go to the Composition tab, then Composition Settings. Under the 3D renderer, choose Cinema 4D. This might take a second to adjust your project, so make sure it's saved in case there's a crash. Now when you open the layer properties, you should be able to see all your geometry options and material options on each layer. So for the top main block layers, we're going to enable in the material options, cast shadows on, accept shadows off, accept lights on, and appears in reflections off. For the bottom duplicate block layers, in the geometry options, we're going to change the bevel style to convex and the extrusion depth to 10. In the material options, we're only going to turn cast shadows on and the rest off. You can select the main block you're working on and then hit R on your keyboard, temporarily adjust the orientation and rotate in 3D space. In each duplicate block in the Content tab, there are multiple color groups depending on how many font pieces there are in the layer. Delete all the groups except the main piece. Then change its fill color by eyedropping the blue background. Use the position handle on the duplicate piece to move the extruded block back slightly. This will fix the overlapping glitch. Once you have gone in and adjusted each piece's material, geometry, and color settings, now we need to add a light. Go to the layer, New Light, and select Spot. Grab the 3D axis of the light and pull it towards you so the light covers the composition evenly. In the light options, increase the intensity to 125 and increase the cone angle to cover the entire comp. In the light settings, there's also a shadow darkness level I put at 50% and a shadow diffusion at 5% so the shadows aren't as sharp. Now it's time to get animating. Shift select all your main pieces and hit P on your keyboard to open the position property. Move your playhead on the timeline to the 1 second mark and make a position keyframe. Then move your playhead 2 more seconds. Now move all your pieces down below the composition. In order for the following pieces to not intersect with the main composition, you'll need to move the pieces towards you in 3D space. Also, shifting the start and end position keyframes of the highest pieces a few keyframes delayed will let them fall more realistically rather than all at once. Select all your start positions, right-click, Keyframe Assist, and select Easy In. With the same layer selected, hit R on your keyboard and open the orientation properties. Go back to 1 second on your timeline and then create a keyframe. Then move 3 seconds. Go through each piece on their end keyframe and adjust their rotation. I made most of them rotate towards me a little more than 45 degrees with a slight tilt to the left or right to give each piece some personality. Once you've got them rotated to your liking, then select all of the rotation start keyframes and Easy In. Now let's add some dust particles to help sell the effect. Go to File, Import File, and import this dust particle stock footage. Drag it onto your timeline, then hit S on your keyboard to scale down to fit the top and bottom within the parameters of your composition. I compressed the video scale on the X-axis to fit more of the dust by unlinking the scale property. Then I temporarily decreased the opacity by hitting T on the keyboard. Once it's in a place where the timing makes sense, grab the pen tool and create a mask around the border of the cracked area. Bring the opacity back, and then in the layers blend mode, select Screen. Under the mask properties, adjust the feathering to 200%. The stock footage is slightly sepia toned, so go to the effects color correction and select black and white. The darkest part of the dust background is not fully black, so it's not taken out by the screen effect. So to compress the black levels, go back to the effects tab, color correction, then levels. Increase the black level slider until you see the background fade away. Once you play back and you can see all the layers are casting proper shadows, bring your playhead to 1 second on the timeline and go to Edit, Split Layer. Then move to 3 seconds and hit Edit, Split Layer again. This is so the expression we add to the middle layer won't affect the rest of the timeline. Select the second layer and hit P on your keyboard to open the position property. Alt-click the timer icon to open the expression window. Type wiggle, open parenthesis 15, 20, close parenthesis. What this will do is move the position of the layer 15 times in a second and 20 pixels in a random direction. This will break the composition border, So you need to click S on your keyboard and open the scale property for all your layers and increase the scale to 103. This should let the second layer shake and not break the barriers of the composition and help its start and end point line up with the first and third layers. You can play with the start and end time of the shake by pulling and pushing the layer on the timeline. Now, I want to point out that I wasn't getting shadows on some of the text and pieces for a couple reasons. One, I figured out you can disable the rasterized layers. For some reason, the comps don't like this, and it disables some of the layer features and shadows. Also, the blue title and background need material options turned on to see the correct shadows. Make sure Accept Shadows, Accept Lights, and Reflections all need to be turned on these layers. Select all of your layers and right-click one more time to create one more final pre-comp. Place your playhead at the beginning of the timeline, hit S on your keyboard for scale and create a new start keyframe. Move your playhead to the end of the timeline at 10 seconds and increase the scale to 110. You have now completed your Invincible title card. This did take me a while to figure out how to reverse engineer, but I will say when it's done correctly, it's super effective. Season 3 for Invincible is about to drop soon, and I can't wait to see what new title cards they come up with. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something today.